Welcome to Automotive Innovators Unplugged, spotlighting the innovators, disruptors, and forward thinkers shaping the future of automotive retail.
Each week, we'll dive into the tools, tech, and strategies that help dealers win in today's market and get a little personal with our guests.
Introducing our host, Sean Kelley, #1 Amazon bestselling author, Special Operations Combat Veteran, and CEO of Car Motivators, known in automotive as the CarViz Coach.
And JP Burkemper, automotive AI expert and co-founder of Insight, helping dealerships retain customers with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
Now it's time for the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to Automotive Innovators Unplugged, where we spotlight the operators, leaders, the forward thinkers shaping the future of automotive retail. I'm Sean Kelley, CEO of Car Motivators, known in the industry as the CarViz Coach.
And I'm JP Burkemper, co-founder of Insight and an automotive AI strategist, helping dealerships use technology to retain customers and grow smarter.
I'm Hermann with Fair Oaks Motors, and I am Sean Kelley's coachee.
And an amazing one at that. Today's conversation is all about something that doesn't get talked enough about in this business. The difference between people who just work at a dealership and the ones who become indispensable. I'm talking about the ones who grow, the ones who lead, and the ones who eventually earn real influence, ownership, and opportunity.
We're going to break down mindset, leadership, sales reality, and what it takes to really move from an employee to an operator in today's car business.
All right, so for people who may not know your story, Hermann, give us the quick version. How did you end up here?
Well, 17 years old, had my parents enlist me in the Marines, and so I joined the Marines, enlisted, served in the Marines for a total of 8 years, 4 active, 4 inactive, and when I got out of the Marines, I thought I was going to go into law enforcement. But one of my young Marines, I was a squad leader, he started selling cars with a group here in Virginia, and he was like, hey, you know, your first year you can make X amount of dollars. And I was like, whoa, that's more than I'm going to make as a police officer. And they train you. So long story short, I started in the automotive only to wait on my clearance. Even though I had a White House clearance, I don't know, they needed to do more clearance, and started selling cars. And you know, you come out as a corporal from the Marines and you get this little tiny checks, and then all of a sudden I sell one car and I made what I would take me an entire month being property of the United States government. And I was like, this is fun. One thing led to the other. My roommate, when I got out of the Marines, he said, hey, I bought a car across the street from the dealership that I was, and used car manager wants to talk to you. Went there, started selling cars. And I just worked every day. I mean, I think I might have worked every day for a few years, and ended up put in a position working for a group that I have a ton of respect. I'm good friends with, Eastern's Automotive Group. They specialize on just subprime. And I wanted to be a funder. And I was top salesperson on a little sales trailer in Arlington. He owned like 15 stores, and he came by the store after like 3 months. I was top salesperson. I'd only been in the car business for about 2.5 years. And I was like, listen, you know, I'd like to move up in the company, and, you know, I'm top sales guy, and, you know, young, 22 years old, I believe. And I'm about to have a kid. And I think he was annoyed by it actually at first, and told his, you know, Robert, he's an amazing guy, I tell you, but like all of us, we've come a long ways from where we started. And he was like the king of cars and stuff like that, meetings with a bunch of cash, and he drove a Rolls-Royce Phantom on spinners. So he was annoyed, you know, I'm young, I'm coming in asking like I'm entitled to something, like being a top salesperson on one of his many stores was something to do. But the guys at the store, because of my hard work, they was like, no, leave him alone. Like he wanted to like, but then it was like a Friday or a Thursday. And then on Monday, somehow they had to let this guy go that was a funder for a finance manager. And I guess God's plan, he thought about this kid that annoyed him, is like, send them over there. So I was like, wow, I was impressed. So I show up, drive about an hour from my house, and I already have my finance book with all the programs, and I show up thinking I'm a finance trainee. And then the finance manager was like, who's this guy? But anyways, quickly warmed up to my work ethic, and my job was at first to learn how to fund deals which is probably, especially on that market and back in 2000, early 2000 or whatnot, it was a good trade. Quickly moved up to where he gave me a store down in Fredericksburg. Then I became a number two guy for the top store. And another, I guess God was planning me. I met a guy that rented 10 stores, Toyota, BMW, at church because he saw me on Sundays with my uniform. And anyways, worked for that group 8 years. Fast forward, when I left that group, I picked up the phone and I called this guy that I knew from church. He's been like, hey, if you ever want to come work for me. And he was buying a Toyota store that day. So I went to that Toyota store, became a finance manager. Within 6 months, I was general sales manager. Worked for them for like 6 or 7 years. Again, I got out of the car business to do real estate. I was at a moment in my life, I think this may have been about 12, 13 years ago, where I wanted to back off a little bit and spend time with the family. Something that a lot of people go through, the business struggles, just mental struggles or whatnot. And I did about a year off the car business. And then my wife was like, you need to get a real job again. I was doing real estate and I got to enjoy the family a lot, but it was one of those things where one thing led to the other. The owner of Fair Oaks interviewed me and I came back, and I've been here 8 years. I first came to help her run the sales department. We did well on that. She sent me to the NAD Academy. After I graduated of the NAD Academy, I became the general manager of the store. A year later, became vice president of the group. It's only one store, but that's it. That's the story. Just, I think it was mainly outworking, and I don't have a whole lot of education, but it was the most basic thing. I would outcall people. I would outwork the hours. I would just, it was I loved the car business, and that's how I'm here now as VP of this company.
Herman, where do you think your work ethic comes from? Was it something in the Marines or something early in your career that shaped how you operated throughout your career to today?
The Marines, for sure. I think it was the values and the, everything from, integrity. Just, I think my relationship with God and, having a wife and kids and wanting to do better for them, and, the American dream, the way I was raised, it just, what my parents taught me, you dream of something, and if you believe it, you can accomplish it. So all of that put together, I think that has been the things that bring me, I guess, gratitude, and the blessings that I've had just come from all of that.
Were your parents pretty hardworking? Where are your parents from?
Colombia, South America. I'm from Colombia, South America. Yeah, my dad came to the U.S. in '84 illegally with one of the Mexican coyotes with a brace in his neck, slept in a trash can, swam across the Rio Bravo, and he married my stepmom. And by the time he died, he had a doctor's degree from Columbia University. And I had a 0311 rifleman degree. So, but in the end, before he went, he was proud, and that made me feel good that he was proud.
Yeah, I've seen Herman's work ethic. Like, I've seen it firsthand. Herman, I remember one of our first coaching conversations. You were like, I need the managers to, the managers have to work at a faster pace. They're not doing enough action. They're not getting enough deals processed through. And I was like, how have you shown them how to do that? And you were like, that's what I need to do. I need to show them how to do that. I was like, okay, what does that look like? And I remember you hit the desk, and like the managers were in awe at the pace that you pushed deals and created opportunities. And that led to like the management team elevating and operating at a higher level. So I have a lot of respect for your ability to do that. How many days did you run the desk to show them that?
It was about 2 months. About 2 months. Yeah, it was 2 months. It was just, we were coming off of the COVID highs, and it was just getting harder. And, it was a couple of months where, everybody energy went up, and, it was all about showing the salespeople that you're going to, basically email, call, text, send video, everything that needs to be done to try to get a customer to engage. And that builds the energy, that builds the momentum, and obviously treating people with, I think, giving an opportunity to mess up,
So,
you know.
well, that's a good segue to my next question. So in your opinion, what separates someone who just works at a dealership from someone who becomes indispensable to the business and their team?
Work ethic. Just something, loving what you do and a relentless pursuit of generating business, and then being understanding that, you know, everybody's different, everybody has different backgrounds, giving people an opportunity to mess up, and then using those opportunities rather than to break them down to build them up. And that way, when you make enough deposits, you can make withdrawals, and you don't have to be perfect either. So yeah.
Yeah. You know the old saying, work smarter, not harder. Of course, we got to work hard, but do you see GMs wasting time without realizing it? And if so, where would you say they're wasting time? Like if I wanted to work hard or instill in my staff, hey, you got to work hard. Work ethic is everything. Where are they focusing that energy? How are they getting the most out of their work?
I think I've always had an understanding that you gotta win friends and influence people, but we just changed the culture of the store. Original visit, we came in, we had everybody's input, and we weren't always perfect. I mean, I just noticed the growth. The people have changed, the culture have changed. I mean, fixed operations department, Tom Archer, you know, his growth is amazing. I consider that my growth, our growth as a team, our relationship, the way we pour into each other. We learn about energy levels, you know, when he's at a low energy level, at a higher level, and vice versa. We kind of bounce off of each other. And then all the workshops that we've done with, you know, over and over, observational coaching, inspirational coaching, all the stuff that you learn from car motivators, it's different. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. All that you have little traction here, traction there. Our finance department running. You know, we have a finance department that, and we got some people that we've had. I mean, that other people haven't been able to manage. I know of one guy that before he came here, you know, the guy, one of those guys that's super talented, but it's very difficult to manage. I mean, just seeing the people is the most valuable thing that you have, and we've learned as a team. I got guys that have, you know, wanted to be managers for many years. That orders inventory. He's an assistant manager that he's has a hard time dealing with people. He's doing a lot better. I got a 22-year-old general sales manager that was a salesperson that, you know, was great with customers, learned how to pencil deals, was very observative of everything that was going on around him. He was my general sales manager. I got another 22-year-old that's a sales manager. So we build him from within. I got a guy that was a top salesperson that went to finance that we just moved him to a sales manager. Matt is a sales manager now. So like, it's just a culture. It's a family. You know, sometimes people come in and we'll give them a shot, and we quickly recognize this is not going to be just, you know, exit them, and we go in a different direction.
When you mentioned the growth that you've seen in Tom Archer, and you've mentioned the team's growth. You know, when you look at this before and after picture of you and Tom Archer back then, and then this after picture of who you are now and who Tom is now, where do you feel like you've grown, and what is this picture like? What do you think of when you see this picture?
Well, so I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to see the change that the store. You know, we succeeding. You know, like we were profitable last year. Stellantis, as you guys know, since COVID, it's the worst market share out of all the brands. I mean, we learned this at NADA. Our used car sales has grown to, you know, we selling over 100 used cars a month. It's probably a 20-25% increase on that. You know, personally, is rather than, you know, before I just had to be in the front line. I had to be the one making the calls. I had to be doing everything. You know, since then, you know, I really run it it's somewhat of more of a executive. We've developed, more profit. We develop more. We got a couple of products we put in the front to more front end profit. I'm just in the team coaching, figuring out opportunities and being more strategic about what the path that we taking rather than doing it. So I've learned a lot about coaching. I mean, I didn't know I didn't have the tools. Okay, I had the passion for the staff and all of that, but I didn't have the tools. So I have the tools now, and being everywhere to being more systematically having an Excel sheet or the things that I need to do on a daily basis, on a weekly. I mean, it's just amazing. And this is just the beginning. We're looking to buy more stores. We've an technology company now also as well that is a vehicle and Pfizer that hasn't hit the market and able to do this is because I've got the tools to be able to lead the department and let the guys grow, right? Like they got to make mistakes, but then you grab the mistake, you pick it up, you do some observation, and then you follow through. One of the things that I'm still getting better at is, recently started with a tool. Also, Sean Kelley introduced to me Coach Track,
Yeah, and
and
by the way,
being able to.
Herman, full disclosure here for our listeners, Herman has become such an effective coach and communicator that I made him a partner in our Coach Track software. And Herman, that I'll be candid, I don't do that for all my clients. And at what point, at what point does someone stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a partner? I love that you brought up Coach Track, so feel free on that. But I think like for you, there's this mindset shift. Like you decided you were going to be a partner with Melanie, your owner, and with me, and with the other people, business leaders you work with. So like, at what point does someone make that shift, and what does that shift look like in your head?
I think it starts from birth. I think just this sounds like you got to have gratitude all the time. That's like one of the things that I pray that that I'm grateful for, things that I take for granted. But you also have to have a vision. You have to have a dream, and it all starts with a dream. And I think Melanie, who's the president of Fair Oaks Motors, I bring a lot of dreams to her. And, we have a good team. She's very analytical and like attention to detail. I'm not. So it's all about the team. You got to coach, but it's all about the team. And you got to have that relationship where you understand each other's strengths and weaknesses so that you bouncing ideas back and forth. It's once you have a good team and once your values and everybody in the team has the same growth path, same passion, then I think you're on the right track. But you got to, also continue to, your faith. I think that's important to me. I every day, I leave the house. This is something that we started a couple of years ago, and we've had issues. 23 years. I got a kid that graduated from Marymount University. He's a baseball player, and I got another kid who's a freshman at Penn State University, and my daughter, she's going to go to Coastal Carolina as well. They're all doing big. So I think that my foundation to everything is my wife and I, we pray at the house every single day. It's routine. We hug and we start with the most basic thing, and we just pray for not to get tied to the things of this world, greed and just, that the Lord would lead us to bring to our children, that bring him closer to God, but also myself, that I get to have an opportunity to come to the dealership and pour to all the staff, that when I'm having the conversations, that I remember to pray conversations with the staff so that, because that gives me a sense of peace. I'm having a conversation, tough conversations, and as I know that if God comes to mind as I'm having these conversations, I know the outcome is like, even if I may be feeling like, well, I don't know if I'm going in the right direction, it's like magic. My faith is growing because of that, and it's things that are happening in our life that I keep praying that I glorify Him. And so, and I'm just telling you, I'm talking from my heart. So that's it.
I love that you brought
Yeah.
your faith into this convo, and because, well, I know you both of you know this. Most of our listeners probably don't, but I had this near death experience, and I think it's Earth because I'm supposed to bring people to Him through my coaching. So, not only was I blessed to be able to be alive to write a book about that near death experience and how I got to experience God's love firsthand, but since then I think one of the reasons why God left me here is to weave faith into my coaching. And I always ask permission. And I've done it thousands of times since that happened. I have never had one person say no. And every time I've brought the word of God into a coaching conversation, it makes an impact. It always works. And I think a lot of leaders are scared to bring faith into it. I know a lot of leaders are. So I love the fact that that's like a guiding principle for you, Herman. And it's a blessing to be able to work with other faith-based leaders, man.
Thank you, Sean. No, appreciate it. It makes a difference. You got a lot of young people in this business that they see that. I got people that have known me from before and after, and I think that's the centerpiece. That's the 20% that makes everything else easier or unnecessary.
Has faith always been a big part of your life, Herman, or was that more recent?
More recent. So I was born and raised Catholic, and my parents taught me to go to church. So I always believed in God, but as far as the relationship with God, this is the second time I feel I've had a really strong relationship with Him. But this is the best. I would say. Sometimes as humans we have tough roads, and I feel good about everything happening right now. So,
how do you handle someone who produces but brings a bad attitude into the culture of your stores?
Turnaround coaching, definitely just bringing in. They got to know you care. So, I have a particular employee who really good, felt entitled. His numbers much better than everybody else, but he affected the entire team. Going back to the tools that I learned from creators, when, how, why, where, and, I'm not good with acronyms. Sean Kelley knows that, but it's more of trying to get an answer from them and have him think about how they're affecting the rest of the team. Going back to the values that we have in writing, I say, how do you think this affects the value? How do you think they took this? What effect do you think this can have in the team? And obviously starting a conversation with what isn't out of this conversation, what I want to accomplish out of the conversation that is for you. Say you, the individual JP that is affecting the store. I need to make sure that when I'm having this conversation, I'm not heated, first of all, or try not to, but even if I am, I need to elevate myself to rather than being on that level, try to elevate myself to a compassionate level. And, what I want out of this conversation is, you continue to grow. And I know you have these goals. You want to be, move up to this position. And there's some things that I think that that's, your blind side or whatnot. And then, let's talk about the situation. What do you think you did right? What do you think you did wrong? What if you would have done this? What do you think they would have perceived if you did this? And then, always one of the things that I learned from Sean also is like, we're going to follow up. We're going to talk about this. Try this next time. We're going to talk about this in 2 weeks. Let's see how you feel about that. It naturally, I think in this automotive business, some of the older guys, we grew up in the business where files got thrown across the showroom. You got screamed at, cursed at, yelled at. It doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. And people may have, there's some guys in the business that still do that and good operators or whatnot, but
they're not reaching their fullest potential.
Yeah, they're not reaching
No
their
way.
full potential. They're reaching their full potential.
And I love what you said about love earlier, because it's true. It's like accountability without love is just management, but accountability with love is leadership. And you've got to balance that. And if they don't know you care about them, then your accountability will never help them grow. You know what I mean? So I love how you said that. Herman,
Side by side, Sean, I know that I've had an impact on people because of that.
very valid.
And that's become who I am, and not always been like that, but Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to that. If somebody knows that you care, they will make an effort. Not you're not gonna win at all. Sometimes I find myself in the end like, man, I worth it. But more than not is probably the most rewarding thing that you can feel is to change somebody's life. And that's really in automotive we have the potential to change so many lives. So many lives. It's crazy the amount of people that we come in contact with. So
Yeah, and for you listeners out there, you're talking to a Marine and a Special Operations Army guy, and we're talking about love with accountability. So if there's hope for us to make that change, then there's definitely hope for you to make that change. Herman, I want to talk about growing careers, moving people up, because I think there's a lot of our listeners that want to grow their career. They either want to become a manager or they already are a manager. Maybe they're a GM, become a part owner. So when you're looking as a dealership executive, when you're looking to promote from within, and you've moved a lot of people up since I met you, and it's been amazing to see you growing so when you're looking to promote from within, what signal tells you someone's ready?
the whatever they do, that they go above and beyond. That I can see that there's hunger, that they want something, right? And that when I pour into them and I say, hey, just a tip, or give them something that I think would help them, that I see them make the effort. That they don't just in one ear and out the other one. It's important that people want to grow and they have desire, but they got to be willing to put in the work.
Yeah, yeah. Herman, what do you think holds people back from actually moving up inside a dealership?
I mean, not willing to put in the work, taking shortcuts. Their inability to dream big and believe in themselves, But sometimes I also feel, actually all the time, I feel that it's our responsibility as leaders to try to them with a vision, right? Because this may be especially young salesperson, young advisor, young service writer, young porter, young parts counter person. It may be that it just didn't cross her mind, like you just kind of see a lot of this comes from our upbringing as well, but that doesn't mean that you can't help shape these people's lives. Just be looking for opportunities to show people that we care, and then be careful that you don't miss, that someone is really good at what they do and they go somewhere else. So you gotta be let them grow within the company. It's a lot harder to go find another person that may even bring in some bad habits than to maybe grow someone from within. So it's all about people. It's one of the biggest expenses in the dealership, but also is one of the most valuable assets, if not the most valuable asset.
How do you take your biggest asset and your biggest investment, right? And you definitely make that part of your thing. I'd also say that, Herman, you shared something early you said you went to the dealer principal, the guy with the spinners, and you're like, bro, I want to move up. I think that is also a mistake. I think a lot of people who do want to move up, they're like, all right, they got the work ethic and the drive, but they don't share their intent. And I think that alone is a mistake that can cost them the chance to move up, because, it's easy to assume someone who's making 250,000 a year, selling 30 cars a month, maybe is happy in that role and doesn't want to move up. And why would you want to rock that boat if you're their promoting manager, right? So I think for the listeners, it's like, share your intent, have the work ethic. Like Herman said, what are the expectations that need to be met? And then exceed those and go above and beyond. And I'd say the fourth piece I'd throw in there would be like patience too. Because, some people, they try to move up by quitting their dealership and they end up job hoppers. And those people usually end up very stagnant in their role and never reach their. Do you feel the same way? Like, do people have a better chance of moving up if they stay the course? Or
100%. Yeah, I mean, it goes side by patience and faith. I think we are humans, and our brains are gonna play tricks on us. So I think for me, faith, it's hand to hand with that. You gotta, there's, it's just like I think we all do in this world. I mean, it's just impossible if we in this world. That's what we exposed with. And so having patience. I mean, I've been here. I've been offered. Sean knows this from people that I've dealt with that have seen my growth and that I've worked with. Both of those owners have offered me partnership to come back because you know they they knew the work ethic and they knew the desire that I just wanted to grow. And then they've seen me here at this group, and both of the times like, yeah, no problem, I'll consider that, but we got to talk to the president and we'll come together. So we've had multiple conversations about partnering with all the dealers because of it.
These are amazing insights, and I love that we get to share our faith with the world through Automotive Innovators. One last question on the growing piece. And this, Herman, goes back to, early in our coaching days, because I'm thinking about, how you've become a true business partner with your dealer. And that didn't, that didn't happen on accident. And, and it's funny, I think about all the people I've ever given my cheese or house deals to, whatever you call them, depending on what state you're in, gifts, cheese deals, house deals. I always give them to the people I trust. And I know I'm not smart business people aren't going to form a partnership with people they don't trust, right? And so how does one earn the trust? How did you go from being a manager, a GM at a store to being an actual business partner? What does it take to create that level of trust?
I mean, I basically opportunity after opportunity that and decision that you make, you got to make it as if you were an owner already, right? And when you go to the owner and you have an issue, you go with them with a solution that you're thinking like an owner, not like an employee, right? And you just kind of you put in my experiences, I've always think, I always thought like I was an owner. When it came to decisions, when it comes to service and who's going to take care of the repair, because she owns the reassurance, thinking like her, not just opportunity after opportunity. I think that I was put in a situation where I was like, okay, this is what she would do, and I would offer that solution even though it might affect my personal pocket or whatnot. So things to that nature, I think, and with the relationship and just doing the right thing, really. Always think long term.
I love
And that is brilliant. Yeah.
Boy,
It makes me think of when I was selling cars, and I could sell this one and make an extra $200 commission because I knew we were good in the car, or I could help my boss get rid of this old Mercury Grand Marquis. I'm dating myself, but point is I would often choose that because I knew we needed to move that car. Now I made sure my manager knew that I was helping out, but that being said, you're right. You gotta think long term sites.
yeah, and taking ownership. Just having that mindset of an owner as an employer, as an owner of a company, just having guys like that, just building an army around that, all with like-minded goals and aspirations. The sky's the limit. Hey,
And also, I mean, add to that, like her and I sometimes have conversations where we disagree, and I may rehash it multiple times, as far as my opinion. But once we outside of that environment where we discussing and we saying, hey, I think this should be the way, having her feel confident that when she makes a decision, that's what I'm gonna go execute, and not go do something that's different, and regardless, and then support it. And believe it or not, one of the beauty things is that I've been fortunate enough by doing that, going back to her, say, hey, you were right. And then we've had a couple of, yeah.
Beg forgiveness,
So,
that sort of
yeah.
situation.
So, hey, I want to switch gears again. I want to talk just about the reality of the business right now. I wonder, in your eyes, Herman, what's working today in sales or even in service that maybe didn't work 5 years ago?
I think, we got the market right now where you got the FTC talking about adding freight to vehicles. You're not supposed to. It's got to be included. There's even a conversation. There was a FTC email that went to like 97 dealers about including the processing fee. You have to, everybody across the board, all the stuff that you put on vehicles has to be optional. So you got to be very strategic about what you put on a vehicle that is enough value to the consumer but low cost that you can have a margin there, because the sales price. Everybody's competing to have the lowest sales price, but then you got to be able to have more front end gross when the customer gets here. So we run in 40 to 70% penetration on give every customer that buys from us. I have Virginia Inspections for Life. That's just what we do. We have Value Shield, which is an accident that we give for 1 year. It's a giveaway that finance upgrades. And what that does is it gives the consumer the ability to come in. It almost works almost like it's accident forgiveness is what it is, but it's a soft ad. You don't have to put anything apply so that the salespeople can coach it. We give Brake Plus, which is another front end product that's very cheap. It's like $59, and so then we have Clear Shield, which is another product that's cheap, but it's like door edge guards. It's like it comes with a lifetime warranty. So you need to position yourself with things that are not like that have value to the consumer. You come in and you can present your pencils, hey, this is optional, but this is what it is, to try to pick up some front end gross. Because the front end, COVID, front end grosses were crazy. Now the margins are low, so you need actually has good value for the consumer so that you can finance with a little bit more of the front end. And then you got to have a great F&I, got to have good finance people. You got to have the best finance people. You got to pay them well, and then adjust. We've overpaid, adjusted a little bit at the end of the year. Everybody's still happy. We haven't lost anyone, but you got to pay your finance people. From a service, that's also a cultural thing. I think you culture of the people. You obviously, like anything else, and prior years, you got to make sure that your used car department is paying top dollar for service, but then you got to be able to balance that, right? If some inexpensive cars that you got to be in, then you got to do like a special value vehicle where your packs are less, etc.
Is the internet lead still king of sales at the dealership, or let me rephrase that. Is the internet lead still king for driving sales, or are we overvaluing it as an industry?
No, I don't think we overvalue, and I think internet is still a thing that we have to. But now we got to be better at being able to mind it. Can be the old school. Bring him in. You got to give and answer the questions. You got to give the value to the consumer. You got to send a video. We have 100% video requirement. Customer gets a video, and that's you got to make an impression. It's like you almost got to bring the dealership to the consumer if you have to, once they trust, and get them to trust you, because everybody's sending them the same email. A lot of people aren't reading the email, so we focusing on that, and we focusing on having the staff stay on top of the organizer to make sure that they completing their tasks and not falling behind. Focusing on trying to increase the internet closing ratio. We got to be careful with AI, because it's a good thing, and our people aren't getting lazy because of AI, because it cannot, it's not a human. So that human aspect, I don't think that can be. It has to be kept. I think that's going to be the success, is being able to mix that AI with and I think the video is one of the things that right now, and we're doing well with it.
Herman, we're going to get into some rapid fire questions. Just first answers that come to mind. Best car that you love to sell right now. What is it?
Grand Cherokee.
One sales tactic everyone should stop using.
Line of customers. Stop lying to customers.
Herman, one habit that separates future GMs from everyone else.
Get up early and show up before the day starts. Be there 7:30 in the morning or 7, and start the day early. Don't come in the middle of the day. Spend some time at work. Stores open. Be there if you can, unless you're spending time with your family.
There you go. If Sean and I, Automotive Innovators, gave you $1 million to invest in automotive, where are you putting it? Where are you investing it?
Yeah, I think coaching is, growing your people, figure out tools, the right people. I would invest it in the best of everything, the best coaching of everything. I've invested on my people. That the 80-20 concept is a book. I think a quote written by Gary Keller is what is the 20% of the things else easier and necessary. I even do my daily to do with that. It's, your people are the 20%, you know.
Well, Herman, that's awesome. In closing, you've kind of mentioned a few things. You've given us some great stuff here. If someone wants to become a GM, what's one piece of advice you'd give them today?
Get on the phone, generate business, go above and beyond, let your owner know that that's what you want, and find out what you have to do so that they can send you to the NAD Academy or the NCC Academy. Just, let them know what you want to do and ask them, what do I need to do? Where do I need to excel for you to give me this opportunity? The owners are looking for that. Every owner, every general manager, I'm looking for someone that wants to take over my job. Literally, I'm looking for a GM now. I don't know when I'll be in a position yet where I don't have the exact date, but that's what I'm looking for. Got a couple employees that's what they want, and I love it. I love the fact that that's what they want. So go to your owner and tell them this is what I want to do, and they'll like that.
Keep looking for dealerships. You're going to end up buying another one soon, and you're definitely going to need that. And by the way, if you're in the Northeast and you have a dealership that you want to sell, Herman, where could they reach out to you at?
703-593-7196.
There you go. And Herman, my closing question, what's something you believe about the car business that most people would probably disagree with?
That it's going to be automatically just ran by AI. I think that people are always going to be involved. I think that you're always going to need people. You always going to need to be looking for people that want to grow. It is always going to be people driven, even though there's AI.
I agree. Herman, this is one of those conversations that really highlights the difference between just having a job in this business and actually building a career. The people who want to grow in automotive aren't waiting for opportunity. They are like Herman. They're creating value that makes them impossible to replace.
And the reality is the future of the industry belongs to the operators who can think, lead, and adapt, not just execute.
If you've got value from this episode, do us a favor, share it with someone on your team who's really serious about growing in this business. And make sure you like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss future conversations with the leaders like Herman who are shaping the future of automotive retail.
So thank you, Herman. We'll see everyone next time on Automotive Innovators Unplugged.
Guys, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
It was a blessing and an honor to have you here, Herman.